let's build our first data warehouse.
Let's go.
OK, so this is going to be really easy. We just have to click that data warehouse button. All I'm going to do is give it a name. I'm going to select a sensitivity label. And now I can just hit create, and I'm immediately navigated to the warehouse experience.
So fast.
Yeah, I didn't have to spin up any storage accounts, no networking, no infrastructure. OK, so now let's bring some data into this warehouse. And we have our pipeline seamlessly integrated inside. So again, now I'm navigated to the pipeline. I can select from a whole variety of different connectors. And we're going to go ahead and select Azure SQL as the source. We're going to go and choose the tables that we want to bring in. We're going to go and do all of our different column mappings. And that's basically it. My pipeline is now ready to go. I can go ahead and run it, and it's going to start replicating data into my warehouse. And there we go. We've got tables automatically created in our warehouse experience. I can get a preview of my table. I can filter things down. Let's say looking only at the Germany data. Let's go ahead and actually run a new SQL query to, again, this is all integrated natively inside.
What about low code?
Yeah, so we offer both pro-dev and low-code experiences and across all of Fabric. In this case, I can just drag and drop my tables inside. I have this beautiful visual editor I can work inside. I can even do more complicated things like complex joins without having to write a single line of code. Now over here, I've, again, seamlessly navigated to the built-in modeling view. And what we're actually doing over here is we're combining the data warehouse with Power BI in one single integrated experience, so it's really easy for these different personas to collaborate. And I can go ahead and build out my data model. I can create relationships between my different tables.
Measures?
I can write DAX measures directly inside this experience too. And we just take care of keeping all of this data synchronized, excellent out-of-the-box performance across the whole board. OK, so now our data model is ready. Let's go ahead and create a new report. And again, this is all integrated inside. I can navigate to Power BI straight from here. I've got all my tables. So let's go and drag in some data. Let's see how much data we have here. We have 30 million rows.
That's good.
Good starting point. Let's build our report. And again, I can just build my Power BI report like I normally would. Now here we have our shared workspace experience, and we can see we've got our pipeline, we've got our data warehouse, we've got our report, all in one integrated experience. I can even navigate to this lineage view. I can see how all of these different things are composed together. And again, you saw in 3 minutes, I was able to go all the way from getting my pipelines, getting data into the data warehouse, building a Power BI report, without ever leaving the Fabric experience.
And it just flows.
And as a SQL analyst, I can just make use of the built-in SQL endpoint directly inside the lakehouse. So I didn't have to do anything to set this up. It just comes pre-wired with the lakehouse. And this navigates me to the immersive warehouse UI. And this is a completely revamped warehouse experience. Complete separation of compute and storage. The whole warehouse is working seamlessly on top of Delta Parquet files, stored in the lake, with excellent out-of-the-box performance. As we look at this UI, as a SQL analyst, it looks very familiar to me. I see my schemas, I see my queries, I see my tables. And I want to go ahead and actually, let's actually start by writing a SQL query. And I want to see how much data I'm actually dealing with in this MS Sales Lakehouse. So we're going to go ahead and count the rows of the revenue table. We're going to give it a second to run. And we can see we're dealing with 3.5 billion rows of data, all stored inside the lake.
We have quite a lot of sales.
Quite a lot. Yeah. OK, so let's go ahead and do something a little bit more complicated now. We're going to look at our actual revenue. We're going to break it down by fiscal quarter. We're going to break it down by distribution channel. And if you actually look at this query, we're doing cross-database querying. So we're querying across our lakehouses, our warehouses. We're going to scan all 3.5 billion rows of data. Of course, this data is obfuscated data, not the real MS Sales data. But as I look at this data, you can see the results are back instantly. Looks like we're dealing with some data quality issue over here.
Yeah, the GUID's here, right?
Yeah, it does look like some GUIDs have leaked in. So I want to, of course, fix this bug over here. And I'm actually going to use Spark to fix this problem. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to load up my notebooks side by side. Again, the lakehouse is natively integrated inside my notebook experience. I can just drag and drop the table I want to work with. I've got my revenue table. I get a code snippet automatically generated. And you're going to see the session starts immediately. And things start to run immediately because we have pre-provisioned Spark Compute. We have live pools that are ready to go. So as soon as I go and hit things and start running things, we get results back immediately. OK, so let's actually write some Spark code to fix the bug over here. And what you're going to see me do now is as soon as this query finishes running, no magic, no intermissions, I'm going to go straight back into my warehouse. I'm going to rerun the query. And you can see the bug has automatically been
Because the Spark is working directly on the same files the data warehouse is
Exactly. We keep everything in sync. OK, so let's keep going. So now that my data is all ready, we're going to jump back into that modeling view. Again, everything is just built into this warehouse experience. We've got our data modeling view built right in. And I'm going to now prepare my business model, get it ready for my reporting solution. OK, so now let's go ahead and jump back into Power BI. And we can see over here, we can see all of our tables, table names on the side. but no data has actually been loaded at
So
this
no
point.
import.
No import, no. These are just pointers to the data that's still sitting in the data lake inside my lakehouse. And this is because Power BI now supports direct lake mode, which means Power BI can work natively on top of the Delta Parquet files all stored inside the lake. Okay, so now that we have our data inside, let's actually see again, let's confirm how much data we're dealing with over here. You can see we're still working over 3.5 billion rows of data, again, all stored inside the data lake. And let's go ahead and just work on build a report. Let's have our actual revenue. Let's break it down by product name. Let's make this chart nice and big. Let's throw something else in. Let's go ahead and add, let's say, our fiscal quarter to the legend. And you can see this. I'm building out my report. I'm just getting
This is fast.
It's amazing, interactive, smooth kind of experience. And again, you're getting the performance of import mode, but no data has been loaded. Generally, working with this sort of data, managing these ETL jobs, it would have taken hours. You have no latency over here.
Direct lake is a killer feature for Power BI.
It is. We're very excited about it. Thank you.
And what about Office?
Yeah, what about Office? So maybe let's take a look at Excel. Okay, so let's take a look. So we've got our pivot table again, working directly with our lakehouse, with our OneLake data. And as I build out my pivot table over here, again, there's no data that's been loaded. We're still working with the data lake. And I'm going to now go ahead and slice and dice billions of rows of data in my pivot table over here, again, without moving any data movement whatsoever. Okay, so now we're back inside the lakehouse, and there you go. You saw how, inside Microsoft Fabric, you can work end-to-end across all your different data personas, no data movement whatsoever. And in this scenario, I'm a data engineer. I've prepared all of my marketing data. I'm back inside the lakehouse. I already see my tables. And I want to actually reuse some sales data for lead generation reporting. Now, my sales team has been hard at work. They've already prepared a sales lakehouse, so I don't want to go and copy and duplicate data. I just want to reuse all the awesome work that they've already done. And so for this, I can use shortcuts. So in this particular case, we want to actually create an internal shortcut to some data that's already in OneLake. So I'm going to select Microsoft OneLake as a source in this case. And I can see my integrated OneLake data hub. So I can see all my different warehouses, lakehouses. I'm going to select my sales lakehouse. I'm going to select the table that I want to bring in. And immediately, I can see the table appear as a first-class citizen in my lakehouse.
No data movement.
No data movement whatsoever has happened. Okay, but we know, of course, that our customers have existing investments in external data lakes that they also want to leverage with Microsoft Fabric. So in this particular case, we're again going to create a shortcut, but in this time, instead of doing an internal OneLake shortcut, we're actually going to select one of these external sources. So of course, we can work with ADLS Gen 2, but you can even work with Amazon S3. Now, in this particular case, I want to go ahead and bring in some company logos, which I happen to have stored in my S3 bucket. So I'm going to select Amazon S3 as a source at this particular time. I'm going to specify the location of my data. I'm going to populate all my connection information. At this point, all I have to do is give my shortcut a name. I can specify the relative path if I want. And that's it. Immediately, again, we can see this shortcut appears inside the Files section, which is more like the data lake portion of the lakehouse. And I can go ahead and actually just navigate through all of these different folders.
No data was copied.
No data was copied. And I can even open up the files directly inside this lakehouse, view them, despite the fact they're still sitting in my Amazon S3 bucket. Now, I have forgotten that I also have a line of finance logos. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
On my local machine. That I want to bring in. Now, the awesome thing is I can work with OneLake just like I can with OneDrive. So over here, you can see OneDrive. I actually have a OneLake folder that is synced as well. Okay, so I can actually navigate in my File Explorer, yes, in my local File Explorer, navigate through OneLake, go through my workspaces. I'm back in my marketing workspace. I can jump into the same folder that we're looking at, jump into the retail folder, and take a look at this. I'm going to open up that same image we were looking at in the lakehouse over here.
Still in S3.
Still in S3. This is still sitting in S3, despite the fact I'm working with it in my File Explorer. OK, so let's jump back into our lakehouse, and I'm going to jump into the Files section. And let's go ahead and actually bring in this Finance Logos folder. And it is literally as easy as dragging and dropping this into my File Explorer over here inside OneLake. It's just going to get automatically synced back into the lakehouse. So let's jump back into the lakehouse. Let's refresh the lakehouse, and let's take a look if it appears. Yep, it's right here, immediately available. And again, I can just navigate through it and work with this data seamlessly, traverse all the files, open up the logos inside here. So this is how easy it is.